Jacqueline is happy. And there's a reason why we are sad when even good things happen to us. And that text gave me such perspective. I'll take a broken back any day. And the nurse was there, the doctor was there, and we were talking, and our family seemed upbeat, and she said, "You guys are taking this really well." We said, "Well, if he would have been paralyzed, we would have been grateful he's alive. If he passed away, we'd have been grateful he was doing something that he loved and that he didn't suffer. If he suffered, we'd be grateful that we had him for as long as we did and we were able to learn from his life. And if that wasn't given to us, we'd have been grateful that we had the opportunity to go through the struggles of trying to have a child, because at least we were married and had love." So there's always a way to look at the world that can make you happy. And I talked about this a long time ago, and some people said, "You really ought to share this again." And so I'm talking about team. I says, how does this fit into baseball? But the reality is, in baseball, there are bad times. I mean, that poor Brandon Moss has been benched after coming in, supposedly picking up the team. He's had some good times and some bad times, as we all do, right? These are good times. These are bad or hard times, right? I think this box I put in the wrong spot. Now, this is just life. We're all going to go through this. Let's look at this spiral here. In clockwise direction, this is happiness. Counterclockwise is sadness. But sadness can represent frustration or anger or bitterness. See, what happens in life is when it's good, when we have good times, we're above the line, it's easy for our arrows to be going in a happy direction, right? But when times get hard, it's really hard to keep that happy attitude going, right? If we allow ourselves to keep happy, then good times come back, and it's easy. And what we end up doing is expanding ourselves. Each time we go through a struggle and we come out of it, we get larger, we get better, we get more capable. Just like Heidi was talking about, our brains expand, we get smarter. On the other hand, if we allow bad times to change the trajectory of our attitude, then we get smaller. So many people get caught. They're okay when things are good, but when they get bad, they struggle, and they bounce back and forth from almost happy to almost sad enough to do something about it, and they're trapped. There is a way that we can find happiness even in hard times, that we can find the experience that Jacqueline's going through right now, that we can ride the storm that Brandon Moss is going through till he has a really good day and things start to swing his way. So I'm going to draw a picture of myself, and I'm going to use that. Can everybody see that okay? Yeah, I'm going to draw a picture of myself. Now, all of us have relationships. We have circumstances, and we have possessions. It could be our car, it could be our spouse, it could be our children, it could be a circumstance like standing in line for a long time for a food truck, or somebody stepping in front of you when you've been patiently in line waiting to take a picture in the product expo, and they just kind of bump you out of the way. It can be when somebody's incredibly nice or when somebody's kind of rude, when somebody's being a good team player and somebody's not. Right? This happens to all of us. Now, we have two ways of looking at it. First, we're going to look at it with our arrows in. What does that mean, arrows in? The arrows in means the energy comes from outside in. It's, what is my wife doing for me? Are my children respecting me? What are they doing for me? It has nothing to do with what I'm doing for them or what I'm doing for my wife. How are they affecting me, not how I'm affecting them. These are the conversations that we hear all the time. My sponsor doesn't do anything. My director doesn't teach me anything. My upline is non-existent, right? When we have these experiences and we have arrows in, what happens is these arrows all point to one spot, right down here in our core, where fear and greed live. It's right here where it's our worst, most vulnerable. And so we really have a difficult time being happy, and we reverse ourselves, and we get smaller. But there's a really simple trick I've talked about before. You've probably heard it. Arrows out. What does that mean? So I use this example. I remember the first time we went to China. I went to China. And I saw the people working in the factories, and they were all walking or riding their bikes to the factory. And I wanted to get a picture. That was back before cell phones, so I had a camera, and we gave it to an employee to take a picture of us, and they didn't know how to work it. It was just a point-and-shoot camera. Oh, he's never seen a camera before. It's amazing what's happened since. They all have iPhones now in just a few years. But I remember thinking, man, I've been angry when I've run out of memory on my camera and that stupid thing, and the battery goes dead. How many of us get angry when the battery goes dead on our camera or our phone? Right? How many of us are frustrated when our car doesn't start in the morning? And then I think, man, wouldn't they be happy to have a camera that they could plug in and charge and use later rather than having nothing? Sure. Would they be happy to have a car that only starts 3 days a week instead of riding their bike every day? Sure. So if they'd be happy with a car that only starts 3 days a week and be happy with a camera with a dead battery, why am I angry because my car only starts 3 days a week or because my camera doesn't have a full battery? Am I better than them? No. If you think about it, there are people who are more worthy than us that don't have things. So really, everything we have is a blessing. When you think of it that way, your arrows turn out. When you think of what you have, your circumstances, your relationships, and your possession from a position of gratitude, right? Man, I'm glad that Owen isn't paralyzed. Right? That's a position of gratitude. I'm not angry that he broke his back. If I'm angry that he broke his back, what I'm saying is I'm entitled to a son who doesn't break his back. And that's really impossible when you get to meet people like Jacqueline, or you get emails like this from Amber every day. Here are the flowers we sent. Stacy's dad passed. Patricia's son was in an accident, passed away. Tricia Kramer's husband, Carrie's husband passed. Consultant Leroy passed. Cindy's son passed. Billy's mom and uncle passed. Jamie Dorsey's dad passed. Every week we find that there are people in our team that we love that have the ultimate tragedy. We do what we can by sending flowers and making sure they know that we love them. But it teaches us every day that every person is important. Every person has something to worry about more than we do. So what right do we have to get worried about what we don't have? What right do we have to be entitled? We're not entitled to anything. Everything we've got is a bonus. Every one of us. And we aren't entitled to anything. When you start from that point of view, when times are bad, you're just learning something, like Heidi talked about. If you can focus on being grateful for what you have instead of entitled to what you think you deserve that you're not entitled to deserve, then sadness doesn't happen, happiness happens. Gratitude makes it impossible to be sad. Entitlement robs you of joy. You have the choice to live an entitled life or a grateful life. Now, when we are grateful, this is what happens. When we have our arrows out, then I'm trying to make everybody around me and everything around me better. When you do the same thing, then you're trying to build my life back more than I'm trying to build your life, right? This is where we get the concept of contribute more than you take. Albert Einstein talked about it in that poster that I have in my wall. Try not to be a man of success, rather become a man of value, because a man of value will give more than he receives. But really, it's this concept of living a grateful life where we are contributing more to each other than we are taking that allows us to have a community where we have an upward spiral of goodness, where you want to be part of this because no matter how hard you try to give it all away, you get more back. That's what we experience. You know, Heidi and I, people wonder, how in the world do you do it? Are you kidding me? This is like cheating in life. We get to live a life where thousands of people want to take their picture with us. We get a life where our kids get hurt and there's 100,000 people praying for them. We have a life of people carrying what we say, validating what we do. That's the best life I could imagine. It's like cheating. We're running downhill. How do we do it? It's easy. Because of you. And that's why we try so hard to give back. And that's why we create the concept of value. Value is the very first word, well, it's the first real word, in our mission statement. To bring value to the world. What does that mean? We're in Scentsy to make the world better. Right? One person at a time. One family at a time. If we're not making the world better, then we might as well just all go home. So first and foremost, it's to create value. It's to live this world of contribute more than you take. Where every relationship, every interaction should be one where we are making it better, not worse. That doesn't always happen. But you know, when it doesn't, you're not entitled to everybody being nice just because that's our ideal. Because not everybody is capable of being nice all the time. It's okay. Be grateful for the 9 times out of 10 that Scentsy people are nice to you. Don't dwell on the 1 time out of 10 somebody's rude. If you can continue to contribute more than you take, they will reciprocate, or enough people will reciprocate, it'll make it worth it. Okay, providing an industry-leading, family-friendly business opportunity. You know, there's one thing I wanted to talk about before that. This contribute more than you take is kind of interesting. Do you know how the game was won last night? Did you catch that? It was a sacrifice fly. The guy who got the RBI, he was out. His job was to hit the ball far enough that the runner on third could advance home. But he got out. But he's still the hero of the game. One of the great lessons of baseball is sometimes sacrifice is important and necessary. and a good thing. And if you can do something that helps the win the game, even if you're out, you're going to benefit because you get to celebrate just the same. Okay, so contribute more than you take. Kind of a lesson from baseball. But we have bring value to the world, provide an industry-leading, family-friendly business opportunity. Right? We focus a lot on high-quality artistic products that warm the heart, enliven the senses, and inspire the soul. But really, this industry-leading, family-friendly business opportunity is something that we need to pay attention to once in a while. Another lesson from baseball is you can swing for the fence, but if you don't keep the eye on the ball, you're never going to be able to hit the ball to the fence, right? So what does it mean to keep the eye on the ball? This is where details matter. Another great lesson from baseball is they measure everything. One of the key characteristics of Scentsy consultants who do well, they measure everything. Every day they know what their PRV is. They know what that PRV is relative to last year at the same time. They know what direction they're going. They know what their team numbers are. So measure everything.